What's up, guys? Welcome back to Hawkeye Ammo Smithing. Today I'm going to walk you through my updated process of converting once fired 5.56 or 223 brass into 25/45 sharps. I made a version of this video several years ago, but a lot's changed. I've updated my equipment, improved my process, and increased workflow efficiency. So today we're going to do the new refined 2025 version of that video. This video will also give you guys a good view into what future videos are going to look like with this new setup that I got going on here. So stick around and check it out. Alright, so before we start, let's do a quick overview of my process and what I use to do the conversion process of this brass. So you can adapt any of this to your particular setup, equipment you have, and the tools you have. So starting out, you're going to need your once fired brass. So we've got 5 cases here we're working out with of 5.56 PMC brass. And then you're going to need a case annealer, or at least I'm going to be using one in this case. You don't necessarily need one. Any type you have. I got an amp here, obviously, but whatever annealer you have, if you're going to use one, is fine. Then you'll need some case lube. I've got some lanolin mixture here, and then also some dry graphite, which I'll get into why I use that and when. After that, you'll need, for my process, you'll need a mandrel setup. This is a Sinclair setup. And then a full-length sizing die, a way to trim your brass. If you've got military brass like I'm working with here, you'll need a way to get the crimps out. And that's what this drill here is for. I'll get into that later, but that's my method of dealing with the crimps there. And if you don't have a trimmer like my setup here with Derode, you'll need a way to chamfer and deburr your case mounts as well, whereas this one does all that in one. But if you don't have that, whatever trimmer setup you have, just make sure you add that step if it needed, because it's pretty crucial. So, and then obviously you'll need a good caliper setup or case gauge or something to be able to make sure that you're getting the proper shoulder bump that you need, so your rounds will actually chamber in your rifle and fire properly and without any issues there. So and like I said, you don't need any of this fancy type gear that I might have here. I'm sure there is fancier stuff than even what I have out there. So basically you just need to make sure you're doing the right sequence, using some good lube, because that's pretty important so your cases don't get stuck. And you don't have to do what I do here necessarily in this video. I'm just showing you my process. So all right. Okay, so I'm starting out here with some 5.56 PMC brass, like I said, that I've already punched the spent primers out using a universal decapping die. So if you can see, the primers are not in there. I've also already tumbled these so they're clean enough to work with. So you want to ensure that your primers are removed before doing any annealing, and clean cases are always much better to work with as well. Alright, so the first step here is going to be to anneal the cases and get a fresh baseline hardness on the necks and the shoulders. This is going to ensure we get a consistent shoulder bump and consistently sized necks. So for this particular scenario of necking up to a larger caliber, it's also great for preventing split necks from that process as well. I'm going to be using my amp annealer here for this, which has been pre-set up already with the correct pilot and the settings already. So we're just going to run 5 cases, so it's quick and easy, and I'll show you that process next. Okay, so like I said, the amp here is already set up for me by already doing the analyze process on these particular lot of cases that I'm working with. So we just need to go through the screen prompts here and find the through the database. So we'll just select that one there. We'll click on Run, pull up the database, select PMC right there, load, and now we're ready to go here. So we'll take our first case in the shell holder, put it in the amp, click Start. It is done. We'll remove it, throw it over here in our case to cool off, load up another one, go. We'll finish up all 5. You can run this automatically too and just hit auto run. I just don't have it on right now, but that is an option. Alright, last one. Start. Alright, and that's that. So we'll let these 5 cases cool on, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so now that we got them to a fresh baseline hardness and they've cooled off, we'll dip the necks into some dry graphite lube and then start the actual necking up process. We'll do that with the using this mandrel setup. So mine happens to be a Sinclair, as you can see here, with their tin-coated turning mandrel. So you can see in there, it's kind of a gold color. That's that titanium nitride coated coating on there that helps with lubricity. And then so with that, all you need is some dry graphite lube here. So I got the Redding graphite media. We'll just take the necks, give it a little dip in there. You can kind of see, gives it a coat. We'll just stick it in our shell holder here, and then slowly put it up into the mandrel and let it neck up the cases as it goes up and down, and then it opens it right up. And you do that nice and slow like that, you won't have any split necks, and it works like a charm. So we'll do these next 4 here, nice and easy. The graphite isn't exactly necessary, but it does help with any galling or anything like that. So it takes 2 seconds to put some on. Alright, last one. Very simple process there. Alright, so now that that's done, we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so once they're necked up, we'll give them a quick wipe to get the graphite off and apply our wet lube to the cases before running all the cases through our full-length sizing die. I've already done that part off camera, so now let's start with the actual case sizing process. For that, I'm using running this normal full-length sizing die, but I've removed the guts or the decapping rod with the expander, and I'll explain why that is here. Okay, so as a bit of a side note, I've done this because I use a mandrel setup to size my necks. And I do this with all my brass and all the cartridges that I load for, and that's because a mandrel produces an overall superior result as far as consistency when it comes to neck tension from case to case, as well as shoulder bump and neck run out. So the gist of why is because the mandrel only sizes the neck as it enters it and not as it exits it like an expander would do. And the expander, because it sizes on exits, it'll hit the case, like the body of the die squeezes it and undersizes the neck, right, as the case goes all the way up in there, and then it undersizes that neck. So then as you lower the ram and the case comes back out of the die, that it's going to hit the expander on that stem. It's no longer going to be supported either by the die surrounding it at that point. So then as it comes out and then it suddenly hits that expander, because the neck is now smaller than that expander ball or button, it's gonna especially if you go too fast or too hard, it's going to just hit that suddenly. It can stretch out the shoulder again, and then it can, since it's not supported and it's not a nice full length surface, the case can kind of wiggle in there, and that can create and induce run out. Does that happen a lot? Is it as big deal? Is it as much as it might sound? No, but it can happen, and a mandrel just really reduces that whole effect. So this full length surface here kind of slides in as it goes down, and then it just slides back out. So it's not really doing anything, but just coming back out as it comes out. So there's no stretching, no pulling on that or anything like that. So it doesn't matter if the case is no longer supported or anything, because of how that works. It irons that all out and leaves it nice and consistent throughout the whole length of your neck. So it's going to iron out as it goes in and back out, and iron out any sort of inconsistencies there. Push those all out to the outside diameter of the case, leaving the inside nice and smooth and consistent all the way around, and the full length of it, like I said. So that's why I do that. And I just wanted to kind of take the time to, as a little disclaimer here on why that is. Okay, so with that explained, let's now run these 5 cases through the gutted full-length sizing die here on the press. Be sure when you're doing this that you make sure to verify that you're, with your calipers and comparator setup, that you're achieving adequate shoulder bump for your cases to your chamber in your rifle, and so that they will chamber in your rifle, and ensure that you get proper consistency and reliability there. Adjust your die in the press as necessary in order to achieve that. So I'm already set up here, so I'm not going to show that process, but I just wanted to make sure that I noted that. So we'll go ahead and run these up and get our proper full length size and shoulder bump on these cases. A little sticky with that lube that I use. Alright, there's all 5 of those, all necked up, or full length sized, and now we'll move on. Okay, so another side note here. Now our cases are full length resized, but due to not having that expander installed, our necks are now left undersized. So we'll need to run them back through the mandrel one last time to open them back up. So if you were only using a full length sizing die with the actual expander installed, one pass is indeed all you would need. I'm just showing you my process here, and the one that I found that through my own experience and testing has produced the best results in converting brass like this. So again, I just want to be clear, you don't have to do it like this. This is just how I do it, so I wanted to be clear on that. Alright, so now we could just run the cases back through the mandrel and be done sizing, but since I have an amp here and it's super easy and convenient, I'm just going to anneal them one more time after the work that we just put into these necks that's kind of harden them back up. This way that'll start them off back at a fresh baseline again on the hardness level of them, and then to set the final neck tension on those. This will just ensure that the cases end up with a consistent amount of tension on the bullets, and then that'll thus produce a consistent release when they're fired, and give you a more consistent velocity. And with this setup, like I said, it's super easy, so it's kind of a no-brainer, not why wouldn't you sort of thing. So, alright, moving on. Okay, so now we'll put all our cases into a dry tumbler. We put all our cases in a dry tumbler at this point to remove all the case lube and polish up the cases a bit before moving on. But I've already done that off camera for you guys, so we don't have to go through that process. So now we're just going to run them through the annealer again here one more time, and then let them cool before we move on to the next step. So I already got the annealer set up, and I got it on auto this time, so we'll just set her in there and it'll go automatically. Run these 5 cases again.
As you can see, this is pretty quick and painless, so it makes doing this a second time no big deal at all. Alright, so now we're ready to do the final sizing on these things. Okay, now we're ready to start doing one last sizing step here. So we'll run them through the mandrel again and set our final neck tension. We'll dip each case again in this graphite and then run them through carefully through our mandrel, set that final neck tension. You want to go kind of slow here just to be sure you don't ding case mouth, and so that it's doing a nice good job of ironing out that whole neck and not giving it too much spring back by doing this action too quickly. Alright, and we'll go ahead and leave this graphite on there too, because it's actually pretty great for preventing any corrosion. Like, it gives a barrier there between the bullet and the case. It's galvanic corrosion that it produces, but some people like to refer to it as cold welding, excuse me. And so basically, like, if you store your ammo for a while, you might get some of that corrosion and then kind of get some sticking there to where it can affect pressures and stuff when you fire. And more so, it just kind of produces some different inconsistencies in your velocity, so you might see more spread, vertical dispersion and stuff on target, and things like that. So it's just good for that, and then it also helps with uniform and consistent bullet seating pressure. When you're seating the bullets, you'll get a more kind of consistent pressure going from round to round. So that's why we'll leave that graphite on there, and why it's good to have. So, Alright, so now that all our cases are completely done being sized, we're ready to trim them to proper length. So for that, I'm going to use my Giraud bench trimmer, but you guys can use whatever trimmer you have. Just be sure to chamfer and deburr them after, if your trimmer doesn't do it as it trims, like this Giraud or a Henderson or something like that would do. So we'll go ahead and flip this thing on, and we'll trim these up and show you what that looks like. A lot of these sometimes won't need much of a trim at all. Some need more than others. Alright, so hopefully you can kind of see that, but this thing does a really nice job of adding a nice chamfer and a bevel in there. It'll make seating bullets really nice, and it's all one step, quick and painless. This thing's amazing. So the Henderson does a similar job, just a different approach to kind of how it's set up, but this type of trimming is where it's at. Okay, so once all the cases are trimmed, chamfered and deburred, the only thing left to do to these would be any sort of primer pocket maintenance that you'd want to do. So if you got military brass like this, and it's got any sort of style of crimp in there, you need to remove that crimp that holds the primer in, so that you can seat a new primer in there properly. Otherwise it's going to hang up. So you can also uniform the pockets for consistent depth, and or deburr the flash holes if you so desire. For removing the crimp, there's a few different methods you can go about it. You can swage them. Dylan makes a nice swager. RCBS has one. There's some others out there as well. And that just squeezes the mouth of the pocket back out, takes that crimp out of there, just undoes it essentially. Or you can cut out the crimp, and then that kind of puts a bevel on the mouth as well. So I prefer to cut the crimps out myself and apply that bevel, because it just makes the process of putting a new primer in go much smoother. And as far as a cutter, I found that this 3-in-1 here, made by K&M, is the best out there. It not only cuts the crimp, but it uniforms the pockets, the rim of the case. So like if you've got this rim here, if it's kind of bent, sometimes hard extraction will bend that a little bit. This thing will trim that right up to and square everything back off. And then it even, as you can kind of see, this little kind of nipple looking thing on the end will add a slight bevel to the flash hole as well. And this whole thing's made out of one solid piece of carbide, so it stays nice and sharp all the time. Doesn't require hardly any pressure to use, and it won't ever dull up on you. So it's pretty awesome. So I'll show you how this works. You just take your drill like that and just kind of give it a swirl. And I don't know how well you can see that on camera, hopefully pretty well, but everything is uniform. There's a nice bevel on there, and it cleans it right up. I'll even show you here with this swage gauge that you can pick up. That's exactly what it's called. It's a no-go, no-go gauge for primer pockets, so you can see that that goes in there. No problem now, goes right in on the go side. The no-go, the no side that is, won't go in, meaning it's not too far open. So it's perfect. The depth is perfect where it goes right to the ledge of that. It's what you want. Nice and flush. So it's perfect. I'll show you on here where you can see this is the go side. Will not go in because it's crimped. And we take this guy, give it that little trim, go side, goes right in now, no problem. No go, will not go in. This thing's amazing, makes quick work of this process. And I highly recommend it to anybody that messes with crimped primers. This is the way to go. Piece of cake. Alright, and that's how that works. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching, and I hope it gives you a good idea of what the future videos will look like. I'm sure they're only going to keep getting better as I get more experience doing this, so be sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications if you want to make sure that you are keeping up with the channel. And I'll be posting this to YouTube, Rumble, on the website, HawkeyeAmmosmithing.com, and then on all my social media accounts as well. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.